My guest is Dr. Pauline Ngimwa, and she is the lead person from PASGR, handling the advanced training for multi-method and policy-oriented research, brought to you by the Partnership for African Social Governance and Research based in Nairobi, Kenya. We are coming to you from Ibadan, specifically the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture. My name is Kwesi Sam, and this whole training is powered by the AAU television. You can join the discussion via our social media platforms, Association of African Universities on Facebook, AAU_TV on Twitter, and tv.au.org on our TV website. I'll go for a short break, and when I return, I will let you know who Dr. Pauline is, and she's going to share with us her journey and the entire methodology that we are using here for this training. Stay tuned.
Botswana Accountancy College is a business school that was set up over 2 decades ago to contribute towards the human capital development in Botswana and beyond. BAC has over 20 years diversified its product portfolio to offer accounting, business, leisure, management, and ICT-related programs at undergraduate and postgraduate levels, as well as consultancy short courses to augment professional skills. In achieving this diversification, the college has partnered with UK-based universities of Derby, Sunderland, and Sheffield Hallam University, as well as professional bodies such as SEMA, Beaker, AAT, ACCA, CIA, Cisco, Microsoft, SAP, ESA, and SIPS to allow our graduates to have a globally recognized qualification and be globally competitive. To learn more about BAC, contact us on 3953062 in Gaborone or 2410558 in Francistown, or visit our website on www.bac.ac.bw. Also, you can visit our social media pages on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. BAC, celebrating over 20 years of creating business leaders.
If you just tuned in, you are still watching AAU television, and we are coming to you from Ibadan, International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, and my guest is Dr. Pauline Ngimwa. Dr. Pauline Ngimwa, you are welcome to AAU television.
Thank you very much, Kwesi.
First of all, I must congratulate you for the wonderful job that you have been doing. This whole training began in 2011.
Yeah, sure.
And you have about 24 cohorts now, or you've trained 24 cohorts. So now, 2019. This is the 23rd, 24th.
This is the 23rd, 24th cohort.
Great. And so we would want you to share with us, how has the journey been from conception through the processes, and then finally we are here in Ibadan?
Yeah, sure, Kwesi. We started way back in 2011 at the inception of PASGR, the Partnership for African Social and Governance Research. PDT, or Professional Development and Training Program, is one of the 3 anchor programs within PASGR. You are very familiar with the higher education program because it hosts PEDO. We have the research program, and then we have this professional development and training. You're right in saying that we have trained 24 cohorts. Actually, what we are training is 24 cohorts.
Okay.
In total, we have trained about close to 1,800 researchers from about 24 African countries. Our journey, like I've said, started in 2011. And at that point, the program was not known as PDT. It was POT, which stands for Policy, Outreach, and Training.
Training, okay.
At that time, there was a major component of outreach and communication. And at that point, we called the training Multi-Methods Research Course. This was the original training. It was originally designed in partnership with the Institute of Development Studies at the Sussex University in the UK.
Okay.
Towards 2014, the program went through some reconfiguration. We dropped off the communication and outreach and focused solely on training early to mid-career researchers and policy actors from all parts of the continent. We also restructured the training, the MMRC I've talked about. We had one foundational course which has 4 modules. This course is called Advanced Design Research. It has 4 modules, like I have said. The first one is designing social inquiry. It helps the researcher or tools the researcher with skills to be able to design appropriate research programs.
Okay.
Then we have mixed methods module. It shows the researcher the logic and the sequencing of mixing methods. And then we have what we call critical policy engaged research.
Okay.
You realize that PASGR has a bias towards policy,
Social science and policy?
social
Okay.
policy and governance. And really that is what we do. We enhance capacity of research that informs better policy formulation and implementation. So this particular module equips the researcher with the skills to engage with the policy process, so that at least you are able to engage appropriately with the policy process. And then we have one last module, which is called, it's a one-day module, it's called ethics for social science research. You realize to be a good researcher and social researcher, you need to be well equipped with, you need to be ethical. You need to be ethical in your research process. We also integrate what we call academic integrity within that module. That is the foundational module. Then we have other modules. There are 8 in total. And this specifically equips the researcher to be able to carry out, to execute the project. So we call them methods modules. And there are a number of them. I've said there are 8 of them. Just to run through all of them, we have ethnography and interpretive methods. We have survey design. We have action research, which we realize that actually on the continent, action research is not comprehensively or very well known. So we have that one. We have social network analysis. We have applied quantitative methods. Then we have what we call cross-cutting modules. A good example is impact evaluation. Then we have a module called engendering social science research methods. And this is a very useful module. It's not a gender module. It helps you as a researcher to consider be gender able issues, to integrate gender issues. Because we know very well that research that is not engendered really does not speak comprehensively to the issues, the social science issues. So we have that module, and it's become very popular among researchers. It's one of the modules that we are going to give. It's part of what we are delivering. And it is already oversubscribed, so it's a very popular module. Other than the methods and research methods modules, we have a suite of other modules that speak directly to policy actors. An example is what we call informed research consumer. You as a policy actor, how do you consume the evidence that is coming from research? How do you tell between good quality and bad research? How do you commission research so that you can get the evidence that will help you as a policy actor? We have another one called contemporary political economy analysis, another very good module that supports policy actors. Those ones who are interested in the political economy analysis. I've kind of ran through what we have for now, but we are developing more modules. We continue looking for where the need is and developing the modules.
Great. So let's come back to the main reason, because everything that happens based on reasons and some facts. Why did you put together these models? And in your thinking, you get it still right that these are the things that African researchers need to be able to come up with critical policy or a well thought through research outputs that will be good for policy. Why and how did you put together these models?
This has roots in the existence of PASGR. PASGR was initiated or created out of the African Commission report that highlighted the crisis, the higher education crisis.
In Africa,
One of the main issues that it brought out, the report brought out, was the inadequacy among the social science institutions to produce research that can be consumed in the formulation of domestic policies. So PASGR comes in to try and support production of good evidence. And therefore, PDT is one of the ways of equipping researchers with skills. We actually say that we tool and retool researchers, early to mid-career researchers, with skills that they require to be able to produce evidence that will speak to policy. So that is why PDT exists. Our focus is early to mid-career researchers, but interestingly, we always attract people also outside that category.
Okay.
We have seen experienced researchers wanting to come and refresh their skills. And we like it because when they come, they sort of mentor. You know, experienced researchers, they have a mentorship role, responsibility. So when they come and they refresh their skills, we like it because they can go back and mentor their junior researchers.
Great. And so, still looking at the gap, what do you think is the major gap in the research space in Africa? For example, you know, Africa, despite struggles and trying to make sure that we come up with research output, we still contribute to less than 1% in the global knowledge economy.
Yes.
What is basically the gap? Some schools of thought believe that we are not able to map up our research output based on the need that we have in Africa. So we are, yes, conducting research work, but they are not good for policies. They are just, at the end of the day, nobody can pick it up and nothing good comes out of it. Is it because we are not paying attention to research processes, the rigor of it? Is it because we are just publishing for the sake of, we being academics, we need to publish? Where do we put the gap? Most of the time we jump into, oh, African governments are not funding research, but the little funding that has really gone on the continent, we've not still been able to come up with anything tangible for people. I'm not saying nothing at all has happened, but to you as an expert and as an academic and then also practicing researcher, where would you situate the problem in terms of research in Africa?
I think, Kwesi, we need first of all to appreciate the fact that a lot has happened. We can't assume that there isn't anything good in terms of research coming out of the continent. We have had very good researchers. We've had good publications getting out. So I would want us to start from that position.
Great.
And that is why our program, we are very emphatic on the fact that, yes, it tools the beginning researchers, the early career researchers, but it also retools those already there with skills. I think what we are lacking is the capacity to engage very well with the policy research. We have research projects at the university. Students are encouraged to do research, and they do that. Unfortunately, it ends up somewhere in the library, shelves, dusting, gathering dust. We also have researchers who are publishing, but their academic publications cannot be understood by our policy actors because it is so academic.
Sure.
So where I see the gap mainly is that ability to engage with the policy process. Someone said to me that, although I don't entirely agree, but someone said that research that does not speak to policy is unethical. That was their own way of perceiving it. But in what they wanted to say is that if you're carrying out research that is not going to solve the Africans' problems, then you're doing no research.
Sure.
But we also recognize that there is research for knowledge. You need to produce knowledge. So that has its very good place, and researchers academics need to carry on with that research. But they need to go a step further and produce research that speaks to policy, produces evidence. Our continent still has issues, complex issues There are issues of food insecurity. There are issues of climatic change and how that is impacting on our ability to produce sufficient food. There are other issues. There are issues
Peace
of
and
terrorism,
security.
peace and security. If our researchers engaged with these issues and did research that can produce evidence that will help reduce or eradicate some of these issues, then we can say that they are producing good research that is directly speaking to Africans' problems. So coming to the capacity gap, I think that is where we are. We've also seen over time that there is need for that retooling.
Yeah.
New methodologies are emerging. Our researchers need to be up to date with those methodologies. We've seen that there is a struggle. A lot of publications, Africa actually does produce publications, but there is a whole debate on decolonizing our
research?
Publications.
Which I agree.
Which you agree,
Yeah.
and I don't want us to get there. But what I know is that there are Africans producing good research. In some cases, it does not get to the international
high top
platform,
journals.
but there's a lot that is already happening. We have institutions that are supporting that production of knowledge as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's look at what we're having now here in Ibadan, which I find so much exciting, and I have sat through some of the lecture periods, and I think this is something I should have gotten when I was doing even my undergraduate studies, because over there it opens your mind. Now, why do you think we need multi-method approach and also policy-oriented research in Africa at such a moment like this that PASGR is so much passionate about?
That's a good question. We need policy. Let's start with policy-oriented research. We need that for the sole purpose or reason I have explained to you. We need research that is going to speak to policy issues. So we need to equip our own to be able to carry out that research. Remember, I've told you that we have observed a gap among our own researchers. So we need to equip them with skills that will enable them be able to engage with the policy process.
Okay.
For us to be able to do that, we need to have different methods that will help us address the complexity in these issues, in these policy issues. And that is why we say that our program, our training program is multi-methods. You cannot address our complex issues with only one method. You can't with a single method. You need to have an array of methods. We actually have a module, like I said. It's a 2-day module that helps the researcher appreciate the place of multiple methods. There are researchers who come, they come from what we call qualitative approach. Others come from quantitative approach, and they don't know anything else than quantitative or qualitative. And that becomes a problem. So when they come and go through the multi-methods module, they get to appreciate that actually my research problem could actually benefit more if I integrated, if I crossed and mixed the methods. So we have people who, economists, who know nothing else than econometrics and quantitative, coming and changing over and appreciating the place of qualitative research. So we don't privilege any of the any one approach over the other. We tell them that these two approaches are good if they speak to your research program. And we're always very excited to see that actually, yes, an econometric can integrate qualitative approaches or can work with a qualitative researcher to support their research programs.
What we're saying reminds me of my school days. I remember when we were doing our thesis proposal, a colleague of mine wanted to do a qualitative analysis of whatever he wanted to do. Then the professor said, you are very lazy. Because he comes from a very rigorous quantitative background, and so people think if you're not doing quantitative, it is not just you are doing nothing, because it's, qualitative, you need a very small sample size and blah blah. But I think it's a good idea for us to mix up matters and then come up with outcomes and findings that are very critical to policy in Africa. But most importantly, I sat in one of the classes, and the new thing is not so new, but I like it from the fact that people are now catching up and getting that understanding that we need to even cross over and do a lot of multiple studies or multidisciplinary studies. So, for example, a psychologist partnering with maybe someone from the medical field to solve a particular problem, or someone coming from zoology to help someone with maybe aquaculture or something, or an agriculturalist to come up with research findings and or engage in research processes. How do we get a lot of academics on the continent catching this same understanding, this basic understanding?
Our problems, like I have said, they are complex problems. And actually you're spot on in saying that people need to work in teams.
Yeah.
We are increasingly finding that people are working across disciplines. There are interdisciplinary research projects. And why this is the case is because you cannot address these complex social problems, like I said, using one approach.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you really need to be a qualitative or a quantitative researcher. No. It means that you need to work in teams. So you can have a qualitative researcher working with an economist who is highly quantitative, working together to produce solutions for a complex issue. You can have people from agricultural sciences working with social scientists so that they can address a particular problem. If you look at, for example, not too long ago, or actually currently, even in, is it Congo, we are battling the Ebola crisis. This is a medical, someone would argue that this is a medical crisis. We need drugs, we need research in drugs that would deal with that. But we also know very well that this is also a cultural, social-cultural issue. So we need people who study the social sciences, anthropologists, and people who... Sociologists, also intervening.
Sure.
So this is not a crisis that can be dealt with medically or socially. We need all of them getting together, working together, so that they are able to address the problem. I've just given you one of the many examples. And really that is why we need people working in teams. And now what we do in our approach, we bring people together and we encourage them to collaborate through the training. And when they move on, one thing that you'll discover is that our approach, our pedagogical approach, brings people together to work in teams. We actually have sessions we call peer learning sessions. These are what we'd call group works, but ours go beyond group works. People are learning from each other. People are supporting each other. Meanwhile, they are building and getting to know their different strengths so that they can move on and do collaborative research together.
All right, so I'll go for a short break, and when I return, we'll be looking at a series of issues. One has to do with telling the impact stories, much more specifically for people to know, and also the way forward for the PDT programs, especially through the multi-method and policy-oriented research. My guest is Dr. Pauline Ngimwa, and she is the manager for the PDT program brought to you by PASGR, and we are currently sitting at the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture. I'll go for a short break. Stay tuned.
I feel so confident. The reason why I feel so confident, it's not because of maybe the courses just that I've been doing. I feel like I can do anything that I want to do. If you tell me to do something, even if I don't know how to do it, I'll learn, I'll take my time, I'll study hard, I'll probably not sleep for a month, but I'll do it because that's what Carnegie Mellon University have taught me, to work hard, to read hard, to spend more hours doing research, and then at the end of the day, you actually see the results of what you've been looking for.
It's very important not to be like uprooted from the ecosystem, so like the network that you built and things like that. And what happens if you move maybe to the US for some time, you sort of cut off from this your network. So It's important to have studied in Africa because that way you can maintain your network of business people that you work with. So for example, I run a small business where I work with various people, and if they wanted to have new projects to do with me, if I was not in Africa, they would not get in touch with me. For me, one of the key things was the exposure that I got. So one of them was working for IBM in Nairobi. That was something that probably would never have happened if I've never gone to CMU.
We are excited about the future of East Africa and our role in educating the next generation of African leaders. This is just the beginning.
Welcome back from the break. If you just tuned in, you are still watching AU Television, and we are coming to you from Ibadan, specifically International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, where we are bringing you the advanced training for multi-method and policy-oriented research brought to you by PASGR. And Dr. Pauline Ngimwa is my guest. Doc, before we left for the break, we had wanted to look at the success story, the impact story. This is the 8th year, because it started in 2011, yes. The 8th year of running a successful program. And this is the 24th cohort. 2024. Yes. So assuming you have 25 students per cohort, mathematically, with the simplest tools in mathematics, I know you've trained a lot of people.
Oh, yes.
Do you follow up on these ones? Are you able to share with us what strides they've made in their research output? What inventions, what new things have they come up with? And what will you share with the entire continent in terms of their output and what they've done in the space of research in Africa?
We are always amazed at the level of impact. Where I sit, I receive impact stories, unsolicited stories. And I also go out to find out what is happening. And there is this consistent message that your training transformed me. We actually now call our training transformative. People come in, first of all, not knowing that they can actually cross over from one research discipline approach to the other. And they get converted. So they come and tell us, it's good, I learned how to do mixed methods. Others come and tell us, I didn't know how to design a research proposal. I am now able to design a proposal, a winning proposal. Whenever I send it out for funding, I always get positive and no longer get rejections as I used to. I think one of the greatest impact stories is what I have seen with the body of instructors. We have an approach. Our own instructors now own the project, the program, in the sense that initially we delivered it with IDS Sussex. But over time, we have developed our own. People who have gone through the training and emerged as leaders, you know, people who can be trained to be researchers. And they've gone through TOT, training of trainers. And where we are right now, we've developed a very strong body of about 20 of them. I have seen them grow professionally in their own professional careers. Those who did not have PhDs now have their PhDs. Those ones who were just lecturers have recently become professors. And yesterday was one of my best days because one of our instructors, Professor Ojebode, he gave his most exciting inaugural lecture yesterday here at the University of Ibadan. And we have many have won very prestigious fellowships, and they attribute their success to their participation in this training program. So I am always excited about them. Every delivery, we try to identify people, talents that can be developed. And what I do is that I pair them up with the more experienced instructors so that they can go through a period of mentorship. So that is one way that we have observed impact. There was one young lady who came for training, and you could see that she was really nervous. She really was not a confident researcher. And that was last year, but it was around November. Beginning of the year, I received an email from her saying that one of your most, she didn't say, she said, she meant to say that she was very, she didn't have confidence. She was able to send in a proposal, and she won that grant. Now she was writing to me telling me that she is now a leader of a project, and it's a big project, and she attributed that to the training that she had had. So yes, we've had impact. We have seen people going out and cascading the training to their colleagues and to their students. One of the instructors recently told me that he has set aside a personal grant to support his own colleagues in the department to come for our training. I thought that was such commitment, because what I have seen among this among the body of instructors is that there is enthusiasm, there is commitment, there is eagerness. Kwesi, you have seen that they spend long hours. They spend long hours preparing. We come 2 days before the delivery, we prepare ourselves, but really the training would have started like 2 months before. They will be engaging virtually online. And when they come for 2 days, where they go through what they've been doing, perfecting and preparing for the learners. So when they come, when the participants come, they find people who are already prepared. These are people who stay on to help the participants. We believe that no single participant should go through our training and come out with no change.
Great. So yesterday, during the interview sessions with the participants, one of the special moment for me was when one lady said, in fact, from here she's going to shred her concept paper she brought with, because she's now she now has newer ideas, better ideas than what she came up with. So what do you think is the trick? I don't know, but what is so new and what is so transformative? If I want you to say just one thing that is so transformative that anybody who joins this kind of training session goes home with, what will you share with us?
It is the pedagogy, Kwesi. And you know about PEDO, you know the whole story of PEDO. PASGR has a defined pedagogy. It is interactive, it is problem-based, it is peer learning, learner-centered. We bring all that together. We use technology. We use technology in form of multimedia. We have e-cases, we have video clips. You've seen them playing out. We have invested so much in them. It is that pedagogy that you don't get very readily in the universities. So people come here and we take them through that. We encourage them to come with a concept paper. The concept paper has a problem, a research problem.
Okay.
And every day, after they've learned the theory in the morning, in the afternoon, they roll off their sleeves and get into serious working. Okay. And that is why that participant told you that I am now tearing apart my concept paper. They look back to what they submitted to us at the end of the training, and they said, wow, I have come far. Those concept papers are so good. If you are doing your PhD, you can go and develop it into a PhD proposal, and it will be accepted. If you are working on a project and you need funding, we've seen people take those concept notes, transform them into proposals for donors, and they get funding. So it is that process that we take the participant through. And what I like about this is that most of them, of course, are academics. When they go back, they use that pedagogy
to teach.
One of them told me, she's actually one of our instructors, she said, one of the transformative things about this training is that it opened my eyes into better ways of teaching. My classes are never the same. I use what I learned to teach.
Okay, great. So finally, before you go, before we decided to sit with you, we had to just, behind the scenes, speak to past participants. We also had to speak to some facilitators to find out, indeed, whatever you're going to share with us, we wanted to validate. And one key thing that a past participant told me was that now every proposal she submits for funding gets the grant
Get
and
funded.
exactly gets funded, and then she comes out with better research output that respond to policy in Africa. And I think it's one thing that we must congratulate you. It's not easy
Thank
to
you.
set up objectives and then over time you still get even better result, and it doesn't diminish. And it's one of the things that is worth the commendation.
Thank
and
you.
so to you and the entire PASGR, we are grateful for the good work they are doing. But before we finally let you go, one key thing has to do with sustainability. And going forward, I know you are an educational technologist, a very good one.
Yeah.
How are you going to apply your own skills and your own knowledge in educational technology? I know you've done a lot in ICT. How are you going to blend it with what we have now? Because now the entire continent seems to maybe a lot of people want this training. How do you cascade it in your own way to make sure that even when there is no money to still push it, you have better ideas to enlighten the entire continent?
Okay, there are many things that we are looking into towards sustainability, but the key, we developed a business plan a few months ago, and it highlighted the need for affordability. So we are focusing on making the program affordable, more affordable to participants. One of the things that we are doing is that we have taken it now closer to the people in the region.
Sure.
That is why we are here in Nigeria, because the previous trainings were held in Nairobi. The other one is that, like you rightly say, I have a background in educational technology. I'm using my skills to spearhead a project on turning our program into a blended mode. We are almost halfway through the project. And now, why we want to do this is that we need to reduce the number of days that the participants must come for the training. You realize that our training are largely residential. So if you're able to get out most of the training into e-learning mode and only come for face-to-face for the what we would call the tricky parts, then that will hopefully bring down the costs. So I am committed to the blended learning project for sustainability. But I also, as an education technologist, I also believe that technology offers a lot of other benefits like quality. You're able to do, you're able to use better strategies, teaching and learning strategies. You are also, it also gives flexibility.
Exactly, wherever you are.
Yes, wherever you are, at your own time, you can access the training. So yes, going blended approach is one of the areas that we are looking into towards sustainability.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Dr. Pauline.
Thank you,
and
Kwesi.
on behalf of the Secretary General of AAU, we want to congratulate you for the good work you're doing to support African higher education. And we'll keep following up and then kind of tell the success story of what you are doing to support higher education in Africa.
Thank you very much, Kwesi.
Viewers, this is the end of my beautiful moment with Dr. Pauline Ngimwa, who is the head of the PDT program at PASGR. Keep watching AU Television. We have a lot more to share with you throughout our coverage here in Ibadan. My name has always been Kwesi Sam. Thanks for watching.